Hey, good morning, Crossroads family. I hope that you are and have been enjoying your Freedom Weekend and that you've been having a great time getting out and going to see the people that you've been wanting to see and going to the places that you wanted to be. I heard everybody was in Ballina yesterday. I and my wife were on the computer for over 4 hours picking out knobs and taps and colors and flooring for our future home. And it was fun. Um, it was just challenging optically to choose, and hopefully the right things we saw were going to look and go together well in our future home. So it did get me thinking, though, about all of the little things that we were picking out, the little taps, the little screws, the little hooks, all the little light fixtures and switches, all of the little choices that we made were culminating into making a big and beautiful home for us someday. And that's exciting. And that's what I wanted to share with you today is a life of great faith. And it's going off of really piggybacking off of Stephen's message from last week, where a life of great faith in the day of small beginnings. If you could, that's the title, I guess you could call it, is a life of great faith in the day of small beginnings. And that last part is obviously from Zechariah, where it says, do not despise the day of small beginnings. And as I was thinking about like the lockdown opening up and everybody getting out and like a new dog at a new dog park, just shooting out, having fun and running as fast as you can to get out there. And I wonder as well if maybe trying to slow down a bit and not shoot out too fast and thinking about the things that are in front of us right now. So I was watching part of a documentary of the All Blacks. A lot of you know about the New Zealand All Blacks because they put a hiding on Australia most of the time they play. So part of the story is that the All Blacks do a lot of the little things really well, and you think that it's all about just the workouts and the big muscles and the gym and all that kind of stuff. But what actually brings their team discipline and unity and success is doing the little things really well and having good habits. And this was the part that I thought was really interesting because every time they go into a dressing room, whether it's a home game or away, every player, no matter how famous they are or how good they are, every player will pick up and clean up and leave the dressing room better than they found it. It's just part of the culture that they have on the team. And those habits that they have brought into the whole club start small. And then those small things turn into acts of discipline. And the acts of discipline then leads to a culture of excellence and winning. And so that humility, and if you know of any New Zealanders, it's that humility and that willingness to serve um, opens up great opportunities. And so think of the discipline and the humility side of the All Blacks. When you attach that to a big door, it opens up big possibilities. So sometimes it's the little things that we have at our disposal that open up big doors. And so I thought about like this time for me has been a lot of time of reflection and thinking about all the things that I want to go for and coming up with a life mission and reflection on all these things that God wants to do through our family and through the church and through the whole church. So like I don't have all the answers, and in fact I have more questions now than answers. But I start thinking about like this big thing in front of us. In fact, for a long time, people have been prophesying that there's a billion soul harvest coming, a billion souls coming to the Lord. And I don't know about you, I mean, that's part exciting, but it's also part like, whoa, overwhelming. I don't even know what we would do with 5 new Christians at our church, let alone hundreds and thousands. So I get a little bit like actually gun shy and makes me step back a little bit, almost withdraw and go, well, what can I do with a billion soul harvest? Like, how am I going to play a part in something that big and something that massive? And so before we shoot out into routine and seasons again of where we're going and what we're doing, and maybe nothing even changes for you right now, but I hope this is still a word that will affect and impact you, is that look at what you have right now before trying to get to that next big thing or accomplishing this thing that you want to go after. Start small. Start with habits. Do not despise the day of small beginnings. And here's the part that I want to add with that goes apart to Stephen's message is instead of trying to do great things, do small things and attach great faith to it. Do small things with great faith. And I kept getting drawn back to Matthew chapter 5, and this is why I have a floating candle, I think, sitting next to me right now, whatever side it's on, is the chapter about the salt and the light. And I was reading this week about how back in the Bible times, they would use a little bit, a small amount of salt and put it on the wick of the candle because it would help light the candle quicker. And it made me just realize the relevance again of Jesus and how he spoke to his audience at that time and how salt and light together in the same passage that he was talking about as the church and as believers would have made such an impression on anyone who had a candle back in those days. And as we know as well for the church, salt and light and the power of that, we also know that if salt loses its saltiness, it's not effective. So we know that a little bit of salt goes a long ways in a meal. And instead of thinking about how you're going to get a billion souls into the church, just start with a little bit of salt. It goes a long ways. And the other part is this pure of heart that I've been feeling pulled to in my life is a sanctified life and a pure life. Those blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. And I believe that God is wanting to do this refining fire through the church and burn off the dross and bring a heart of holiness so that we can see more of God. And that when we do have a little bit of salt, he brings the increase. He brings the light. And we know also, like that little floating candle next to me right now, that a little bit of light will illuminate a whole room. So start with where you're at. Well, what can God do with little old me? I don't have much to offer. I can't do a whole lot of things. Well, just look at the people in the Bible. Look at the lady that was in the temple giving a little bit of money. Is all she had, a couple little pennies. And it was more than all the other people that were putting in the offering box that day. Look at the lady in the Old Testament with Elijah that used a little bit of oil to make a lot of bread for a lot of people. Small amounts of light can dispel lots of darkness. Small amounts of salt can do wonders to a meal. Small amounts of faith can heal the sick. Small amounts of faith can raise the dead. Small amounts of faith can walk on water. And it was a little boy who had a little lunch who attached great faith to it that made a lot of food for thousands of people. He had more faith than all of the disciples of Jesus combined. And in John chapter 11, Jesus was going to raise Lazarus from the dead, and Martha came to meet him and said, Lord, if you'd only been here. And Jesus said to Martha, anyone who clings to me in faith, even though he dies, will live forever. Cling. Even if you have just a little bit of faith right now, just cling to Jesus with the faith that you have and start with where you're at and let God bring the increase. You may not feel like you've got a lot to give right now, but just cling, just hold on to, just offer what you have. Activate the faith that you do have and watch God bring the increase. Because the more that we concentrate on Jesus, the more our faith grows. Not in size, but in depth. I hope you'll be blessed with this message and the rest of the time you guys have together. I'll close in prayer right after this, and you guys will be dismissed for breakout groups.